If you want to start bidding on larger work, you need confidence. So the question is how do you have the confidence that you need as a business owner to start bidding on larger work to scale your company? In this video, I'm going to break down 8 different things that need to be in place or that need to be put into place as you're bidding on larger work. So let's start going. The first one is know your current condition. I'm going to be a bit honest over here. I've talked to a lot of large companies and they brought in outside help to help them understand what their current condition is. You as an owner, you think everything is going great and it may be going great, but you don't know what you don't know, and there's always better ways to do things as well. So one, if you don't bring in an outside help, you got to know your current condition. You got to be real with yourself, which is really difficult for a lot of owners to do because everybody's got so much pride, especially in the business of construction, right? So some of the things that you need to really dissect and understand to understand your current condition is your cash. How's your cash flow situation? If you're struggling with cash flow now at 10 million or 15 million and you want to start bidding on larger work and get to 25, 30, 40, 50 million dollars, or if you're a $50 million a year contractor consistently bidding $5, $10 million jobs and you want to start bidding $20 million jobs, you better have good cash flow. You better understand cash flow. So you need to get that in order now before you start bidding on larger work. Also, people. If you're having a hard time getting through to your people, if you have a hard time with retention, or you're really having a really hard time finding people, maybe it's because of the benefits of your compensation package, you really got to understand this now. You really got to understand the roles, the responsibilities, why people aren't performing, why can't you hold on to people. You got to really get this good now, because without your people, you're nothing. You're never going to be able to scale your company successfully. Also, the culture of the company, which kind of goes in with the people, right? How is the culture of the company? Is everybody fighting? Is everybody finger pointing? Do your departments have synergy? Is everybody working together? You got to get real with this. And this is why a lot of companies hire outside consultants to come in and help them with this, because they bring a fresh perspective. They have an unbiased opinion. Structure of your company, right? If you really want to start scaling your company, I'm not sure if you're at 10 million or you're already at the 75 million, or maybe you're at the 100 million and you want to get to the 200-300 million. You got to have a good structure in place. Everyone's got to know what their roles and responsibilities. Everybody's got to understand what departments need to be communicating with other departments about what topics, right? So there's got to be a really good structure in place. Mindset. Mindset is really big, both as an owner and also as a skilled professional. Let's start with the owner. The mindset of an owner who's running a $20 million a year company is going to be completely different than the mindset of an owner who's running an $80 million a year company. As you continue to grow, you got to learn to delegate. You got to really trust your people, and you got to really have the right people in place. Again, back to the people. And you got to start letting go more, because you're going to run yourself to the grave if you can't change your mindset as you're growing. Also, with your skilled employees. A project manager who's running a $5 million job is a completely different type of project manager who's running a $25 million job. There's a lot more responsibility. It's a completely different animal. You know, a PM who's running $100 million a year, a PM who's running $100 million project is a completely different project manager who's going to be running $1 billion a year project. It's a complete mindset. You need to know the skills of where you're at today and what skills are required to get you to the next level, both on the ownership side and the employee side. So next one. What's the plan? All right. So now you know your current condition. You know where you want to be in the future. What's the roadmap to get you from point A to point B without you pulling out your hair and totally losing control of your business? You got to have a strategy in place. Every major company that has gotten to the $100 million year point, the $1 billion year point, all had plans in place. I was just talking to a contractor a few days ago, and he's really close with a contractor who went from 100 million to $1 billion a year. And I asked, how do they do that? How do they do that in only 10 years? How are they in, I think they're like in 8 different states now. He actually said they brought in outside help to help them restructure everything, do the research while the owners and the employees were continuing to work on the current state of conditions and getting better. And they developed a roadmap, they developed a plan. But here's the thing is that if your top leaders don't understand that plan and don't have buy-in to that plan, and if your employees aren't filled in with that plan and they don't understand where you want to go, that plan will never be achieved. I can promise you and guarantee you that everybody needs to be on board with that plan. Really important. Okay, so now you know your current condition, you know where you are today, where you want to go, you got your roadmap, right? Take small steps. If you're consistently bidding $2 to $3 million jobs, don't go and start bidding $10, $15 million jobs. Start bidding the $3.5 to $4 million jobs. Then creep up to the $5 million jobs. Then maybe start getting into the $8 to $9 to $10 million jobs. Unless you're extremely, extremely comfortable to kind of double the size of your project, because it is straightforward. It's exactly what you know how to do. You know your productions. You got the right people in place. Then okay, then maybe you could take your chances on that. And we're going to talk about taking chances and risk a little later on. But really understand what those small steps look like. You know, there's a rule of thumb. Don't take on any project that's more than 20% of your total revenue. You know, of course, it's just opinions, but it makes a lot of sense. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Next, start to think about subcontracting a little bit. If you are a subcontractor, how can you maybe subcontract some of your work to push out that risk? Now, there's a lot of problems with subcontractors these days because a lot of them just don't really last. They're not doing all of these other things that are making them a sustainable business. So you really got to do your due diligence. You got to have a good relationship with subcontractors, because if they fail, you fail. So you really got to be careful with your subcontracting, and you got to have some good payment terms with that as well. Next, number 5, make sure you're covered money signs financially. So now you're bidding these large jobs, right? These larger jobs. These larger jobs are probably going to be introducing new scopes of work that maybe you're not too familiar with, right? It's just natural. So how are you covered? Do you understand the risk on a particular project? You're most definitely not using unit prices that you were. If you were bidding $10 million jobs, you're not using the same unit prices on a $10 million job than on a $25 million job, because the project is probably a lot more complex. The logistics are different. The means of egress are different. The amount of overhead is different as well. So you really got to make sure you're covered. Right? I posted a whole bunch of videos about the cost of financing, right? So now you have larger jobs, larger mobilizations. What's the cost of borrowing money? Are you putting that into your overhead? Those are real costs. There's a lot of contractors who put in what if costs. Now you're being introduced to a different world of construction, and you got to really be able to differentiate the what if cost with the real cost and must be put into your bids. I don't know about you, but I would rather get 5 really profitable jobs than 7 to 8 jobs where some of them are not going to be profitable and may really put myself in a really bad financial position. So I would rather get less work that's more profitable than more work that's less profitable. Number 6, who's in charge? Again, this goes back to the people. A project manager or super who's running a $10 million job is going to be a completely type of project manager and super who's running a $25 million job. You really got to put the right people in charge. And you, the owner, needs to understand, because at the end of the day, when all hell's breaking loose, they're going to keep going up the chain of the command, and then you're the final person that they're going to come to for answers. If you don't know how to run a particular project and you don't have the answers, you're going to have a major problem as well. Now, I know a lot of companies where the owners have no idea how to run a construction project, have no idea, but they hired the right people. So I think those aren't, I think the majority of the businesses are not run like that. So you really got to know who's in charge. Next, 7, track everything. And when I mean everything, you got to track everything. You got to develop new processes. You got to track your costs. I mean, you should always be tracking your costs. I don't care if you're $1 million a year company or $1 billion a year company. You better be tracking your costs. You better know if your budgets are being met or if the field is doing better, right? You got to track everything. Why do you have to track everything? Because that goes into the final. Learn and don't repeat mistakes. It's all about continuous improvement. You got to become better every single job. Every year, you need to look back and say, did my company become a better company this year than last year? Because if you're not becoming better, then you, the owner, are failing. You're failing yourself and you're failing your people. You got to look back and you got to be better. And if you're not better, you may have to go back up to know your current conditions. Again, I'm going to be a little biased. This is exactly how I help my clients, is really understanding where you are today, where you want to go, and how you're going to get there without pulling out your hair and being profitable. So you really got to learn and don't repeat mistakes. I can't tell you how many conversation contracts. I'll speak to the employees because the owners are so oblivious, where I'll speak to the employees and they're like, Jerry, we're doing exactly what we were doing wrong on the previous jobs. And for some reason, the owner thinks that we're going to be better at doing things more wrong. No, they're getting more and more wrong. They're getting worse. They're costing profits. It's destroying the morale of all your employees. You got to fix your problems. You got to become better every single day. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm Jerry, owner of Pro-Accel.